for joining the Zoom, and happy baseball season. We have head coach Pat Hallmark here, and we would just like to start off with Coach, if you have an opening statement on just what you've seen from the guys this fall and going into the spring and this opening series against South Dakota State starting on Friday.
Oh, we're excited. Yeah, we're excited to get the season going. We had an earlier start date this year for practice. The NCAA opened it up about 10 days earlier, so we've been going at it a little longer than normal. So I think everybody's chomping at the bit and tired of playing against each other, ready to play somebody else. So we're excited to learn a little bit of who we are and maybe where some holes are that we need to address that we're not aware of. So we'll see Friday.
Apologies, everyone. I should have mentioned, if you could just use the raise hand function if you have a question, and I'll please wait, and I'll call on you and bring a question up to Coach. We'll start with Mike.
Hey, Pat, I'm excited like you are to get going, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at the gathering over at the ballpark. How long will your three starters go in the game, or is that going to be a touchy-feely thing for you and the coaches?
It'll be by pitch count, less than innings. So they've all been built up. Like I said, we started a little earlier. I probably won't share the exact pitch count just in case South Dakota State, they're well coached. So he might have some strategies to manipulate that a little bit. But, yeah, I think all over the country, most of the starters this weekend will be on a pitch count. But it'll be more high than low because they are ready for that. So – yeah, it won't be by inning, though.
And you're excited about the weather, I'm sure.
Yeah, weather looks good. I think we could get a little rain, but we'll keep an eye on it, and we got the tarp, so I do think we'll get all three games in.
Good.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yeah, good afternoon, Coach. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to just check with you. Have you announced your starting rotation for the opening weekend? Can you fill us in on that, and possibly who's going to take that Simon Miller role this year?
We have exchanged rotations with South Dakota State and Coach Bishop, so I'm happy to announce it, I guess, here. The kids know, our players know, but Rob will start on Friday. Connor Kelly will start on Saturday, and Kendall Dove will start on Sunday. And then the stopper role, I call it the stopper role, the role you're referring to that Rob was in last year, is a little bit up in the air. There's some flexibility with that. We'll probably use not just this weekend, but a whole plethora of games here to start the season to see where we go exactly with that role. And you could even see one of those three guys that I just mentioned as this weekend starters. It doesn't mean they'll necessarily start next week against Dallas Baptist. It'll be contingent upon, one, how they do, and two, just this other role. We really only, at least since I've been here, we really only have kind of four set roles, which would be three starters and then this stopper role, and everybody else pretty flexible. So, yeah, it could change on weekend two, but that's where we're at right now.
JJ?
Pat, how much different do you think this version of the Roadrunners will look compared to last year?
I don't know yet. I hope we're better. I don't know that we're better. We're not quite as athletic, just from terms of the athleticism, but baseball is a different game than maybe basketball and football. Athleticism, while it's important, some of the best baseball players aren't always the best athletes. But anyway, we're not quite as athletic. That would be the only readily difference I can tell at this point. I do think we're a good baseball team. We got to grow, though. The most important thing right now is just that we continue to improve. That's what I mean by grow. We got to have growth in lots of areas. So we got some questions. Some of the pitching you'll see early on will be some familiar faces, but they're going to be in bigger roles. So that's very important. It's just this idea of good players maybe taking a level up in terms of the role that we're asking them to carry, because guys like Lytle, Talzig are gone. Those are big roles. Owens is gone, Royce is gone. So they're just bigger roles for people that you're probably going to be familiar with the name. But we'll see how they do with the bigger role.
And how would you characterize the energy overall, just kind of surrounding your program at this point? Coming off a historic season, it seems like there's a lot of momentum around the program. How would you just describe all that?
I would agree with you. There is a lot of momentum. The energy's been great. A lot of buzz. I think they sold out the chairback seats, or real close. The golf tournament that my wife puts on for us raised more money than any of the other golf tournaments had raised. So little things like that. There's definitely people took notice of what we did last year. So we need to really just kind of put that stuff to the side if you're players and coaches, and really focus on what we can control. And that's not as easy done as it is said. Focusing on what you can control, like throwing strikes and hitting the ball and making the plays. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It still gets down to what you do on the field. So we're trying to keep our minds on that and become better baseball players through some of the hoopla from last year.
One more just to kind of follow up and close that outside stuff in. The school announced there's some improvements to the ballpark. Can you provide us an update of what the status of all that is and when you expect all that to be in place?
I wish I could. I don't know the update. So yeah, video board is coming from what I've been told. And then we still have this bigger project, which is a new player development building, locker room, which the funding we're still reaching out to folks and hunting the funding. Some of the former players, there's an alumni group that's been spectacular and kind of spearheading at least a section of that an alumni locker room section. So it's all in the works. It's all full speed ahead, and we're definitely excited about it.
Jerry?
Coach, wanted to see if you do you have time to kind of go around the horn and tell us about the players that you have at each position, to kind of give us a fine-tuned picture of what we're going to see out here this weekend. Go position by position.
Yeah, loosely. I don't know about fine-tune yet, Jerry. I just don't know. If I knew, I'd tell you. But I think Andrew Stuckey is the leading candidate to be behind the plate again. He had a fantastic year last year, and he looks great. He's healthy and strong, and everything you saw last year in him. And then we have 3 other good catchers. So I don't know exactly which one is slated to back up Andrew, because they're all pretty solid. Brock Palmer and Whit Joyce are back from last year, and local athlete Jacob Silva from Clark High School is in that mix too. So we're very happy with the catching core, but Stuckey will be the main guy there to start the season. Caden Miller's back at first base. There had been some talk about moving him to the outfield, but our outfield's pretty deep right now. So Caden, you'll probably see Caden at first base. Great on-base guy. Really, really excited about Caden's sophomore year. And then the infield's a little bit up in the air. I think most people have heard we had an injury to Nate Hodge. That's probably when I referred earlier to not being quite as athletic as last year, that's one of the reasons. I think if Nate was healthy, we could match some of the athleticism on the infield with what we had last year, but he's not. So it's kind of next man up, and we'll be fine with some of the depth that we have on the infield. But I don't know the exact positions, but I'll give you a few names, and you could see these guys at second, third, and shortstop. Certainly Jordan Bain would be in that mix. Couple new players. Well, Diego Diaz, not a new player, but you're going to see Diego in that mix as well. And then a couple new guys, Aiden Eshelman, Josh Arquette, both be in that mix as well, playing those infield positions. Josh Vaughn, Mason Jacob back from last year to provide some depth in there as well. So that's where the infield will go. And that second base, third base, shortstop, early in the year, you'll see guys switching in and out of there. They very versatile group, and we train them that way. But all those guys I mentioned can play all 3. And we can lefty-righty match up a little bit too, because there's a good group of right-handed hitting infielders there, and again, guys like Diaz and Bain. There's a couple left-handed hitting infielders in there too, so we do play the matchup some on that infield. And then in the outfield, Detlefson's the only one back, but you'll see Drew out there. You know, he's a newcomer player of the year in the American Conference, so he'll be out there left field. You might even see Drew in center field, and then some of the other names in the outfield. Nate Johnson is a true freshman out of Katy with big power. He'll see some time in the outfield, and Lane Hayworth, transfer from Wichita State. Brandon Bishop, transfer from Houston. You'll see those guys playing some outfield for us as well.
Mike, was there anything else from you?
Yeah, here we have, and I've talked to a couple of scouts about this guy, and that's Stuckey. And you and I had this discussion the other day, Pat, and I happened to run into a friend of mine who scouts for the Phillies, and he said, "Hey, what is that team going to be like?" And I said, "It's going to be different," but I said, "I like Stuckey." And he said, "We know all about him, and I'm going to be seeing him 2 or 3 times." So people are watching your guys, and I think that's so great, because it just means that there's some recognition going on, and I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we are too, and Stuckey deserves that. He profiles like a professional player offensively. He hits for power and he walks, which they like. That's, in this game, they like that, and Andrew can do that. He's a little underrated, I think, in pro ball behind the plate because the arm's not super powerful for professional baseball, but he controls a running game. We challenged him last year. Quick story, when we went to the regional, we were scouting Kansas State, and they had some guys that could really run, and we told him, Andrew, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of what inning. In other words, when they're going to try to run on you. And he threw the first guy out, if you remember, in that first regional game, and shut down the running game for the rest of that regional because we were pitching well and people didn't want to risk the stolen base, losing base runner. So that's what you got to do. You can't give up the free 90s. So Andrew's capable of that. He's capable of being a good thrower as well. So if he does that, he does have a shot at pro ball.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We'll throw it to JJ.
From a pure X's and O's standpoint, is there a specific area early in the season you guys focus on more than others, or just trying to get just into baseball shape?
Pitching's always on your mind. I think whether it's fortune or a knack for doing it, we've been able to develop hitting and offense around here. When I say we, I'm talking about Coach Aguayo and I. We've tended to have some pretty good offenses and put runs on the board. It's just hard at a mid-major to recruit the top-notch pitchers. You can find some physical hitters, again, even if they're not the best athletes. You can train them and they can get physical in that weight room, and you can really do some damage at the plate. That's what we believe. But sometimes just because so much pitching is available in terms of numbers, right? So like if you're filling out a roster and you're at University of Texas or TCU or somewhere, you're going to need 20 pitchers. You don't need 20 shortstops. So they eat up a lot of the pitching where the pitching depth from a recruiting standpoint is much thinner than the position player depth. So I say all that to say every year going into the year, we're always hunting just this tough-minded pitcher. We know we're not going to have the 95 to 98 mile-an-hour arms that some of the Power Forward programs have that they can run out there. We might have 1 or 2 where they're going to have 10 or 12. So we need these tough-minded strike throwers, kids that can handle getting hit a little bit. We know we're going to give up some hits, if we're throwing 90, and that's what people hit, right? So, but we got to be able to keep throwing strikes, change speeds, pitch backwards, have a plus off-speed pitch. And this all ties into pitching development and tough people, tough as in mentally tough, where they keep coming through adversity. So that's what we're hoping we see early on in the season. And we got a couple guys we like, Kendall Dove and Sam Simmons, again, names from last year that didn't pitch a lot. We think they've taken a step forward in this kind of pitcher development where you're not going to see the 95 from them, but you'll see hopefully a couple kids who really know how to pitch and they enjoy competition a lot.
You mentioned mentality. The junkyard dog thing kind of took shape last season. How does that every year is a different team? How do you kind of implement that into the group this year?
Ooh, I might get in trouble, JJ. If I answered that with complete transparency, I'd probably get calls from moms, and we challenge them. We are hard on them. I mean, I don't think, it's not a secret. We're just very honest. When the product on display in practice, inter squad, is not going to beat the best people, yet the body has the talent to perform better, it gets ugly sometimes. We tell them, and they don't always like it, and that's okay. We're not always friends. I don't mind saying that. It's just how it is. If you're going to be at a program like this, you got to be that way. So, and on day one, I don't think we're there yet. We'll see Friday, and we'll find out real quick when we get to DBU and some of these other folks. But South Dakota can put it on us too. But I don't think we're there yet with that mentality that you're talking about. It comes through fire, and we got to be put in the fire. We'll see. But that's what we're hunting. We are hunting that same mentality.
All right, a couple more. Let's go to Jerry.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask on the players returning from last year, guys that maybe did not play a whole lot last year, or out of that group, can you name a couple that have advanced quite a bit in their development? Some players that might surprise us early on this year?
Yeah, Kendall Dove and Sam Simmons, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, those are the two that jump out to my mind at first because going into the season, they are slated to pitch a lot of innings, right? We'll see how they do, but certainly in inter-squad games against our own hitters, they look like they've taken a step. We always feel like if you can have some success in the fall inter-squad games and what I call the spring inter-squad games, which simply means these inter-squads that we're playing right now. It's not really spring yet, but we call them the spring inter-squad games. If you can get our hitters out and put up some numbers in those games, we feel like you're in a good place to get other teams' hitters out. And Kendall and Sam have been able to do that relatively consistently. They're not perfect every time out. Nobody is, but they look good. They really do. They've added a little bit to their repertoire, and they just look a little more confident. They look like they're ready for a bigger role. There's not a lot of fluff or BS to them. It's very businesslike. So we'll see how they do.
Awesome. One more, and unless we're done with questions. Mike.
Yeah. Have you had any chance to get any kind of a line on South Dakota State?
A little bit. We have exchanged starters, so I think they got three righties going. Madison, who pitched a little bit for him last year in relief, I think mostly, and then I'm not sure the exact pronunciation, but the kid that pitched the most for him last year, going on Saturday, Schlecht, I think is maybe the pronunciation. And then a JUCO guy from Johnson County who we're familiar with. His name's Novotny. He's going Sunday. Johnson County went to the World Series last year, so he's a good right-handed pitcher as well. So that's who they're starting. And then they got a big boy in the middle of their line. I'm sure he'll hit in the middle of the lineup. Lusky hit 14 home runs for him last year. And then they got a couple kids that hit 350 probably batting in front of him. And then you and I have talked. They got some major league blood in the lineup too with Jerschley. I'm sure he'll be in there for him too. So, his dad's a former major league coach. So they got a good team, and I'm sure they'll be ready for us. They've probably been inside a bubble, so they're probably going to be really excited to get outside, and we're excited to play those guys as well.
That's great. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, and happy baseball season.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Look forward to seeing y'all.